Today we're going to have some fun with the CSS and we'll develop this interesting image slide on mouse hover. So this is going to be fun and you will learn something about CSS and the transition property. Let's move on and don't forget, like, subscribe, share and comment. Okay, we need a HTML file. I have it right here to the left side with the template and a CSS file to the right. CSS file is totally empty. In addition to these two files, we actually need two different images. So I have both the images in my program and they're inside the img folder. As everything is on place, we will start with the HTML. Take simply a div with the class image window. Image window is simply a container and it will have two different frames. One frames for each image. So let's take two divs with the class frame. Now each frame consists of only two things, an image and the title. img for the image. So here we'll put the cat image and p for the title. Same we will do in the second frame, img for the image, on the image, and p for title. That's it, our HTML is completed. No more HTML is needed. We have an image window container and inside that we have two different frames and both the frames have a different image and the title. In the browser, it will look something like this, the default HTML output, right? Now move on to the CSS and this part is going to be interesting. We will first do a simple reset in our universal selector. We will reset margin, padding, and we'll set box sizing to parabox. Now after the reset, we will select the body element and we'll give it a height so that we can place our application exactly in the middle of the page. Once the height is there, we are good to go. We can code three famous flex properties to put any box exactly in the middle of its parent container. And this is actually the box we want to place in the middle of the body. Body is parent for this box. And that's why we will apply those flex properties on the parent. And those properties are display flex, justify content, center, and align items. Center. Let's have a reload. And here you see our window container is in the middle, horizontally and vertically. The vertical effect is not clear at this moment because we have both the images on top of each other. But as soon as we put both the images next to each other, you will see the difference. Now, one last thing on the body is simply a background color. So let's apply it. Reload, and here we have the background color. Now we are going to put both the images next to each other. And to do so, we can simply use flex. But first, we need to target the image window container and we'll apply simply flex on it. The default direction of the flex is row. So both the flex items, frame 1 and frame 2, are going to put themselves in a row next to each other. Let's have a reload, and here's the output. Both the frames of the images are next to each other and the image window is exactly in the middle of the body. Now we will do the real things and we'll start with the width property. Width is the key element in this application because we are going to slide our images on x-axis or horizontally, and width is a key factor on x-axis. We will try to slide our image by the same amount of width we choose here, and you will see each and everything in a couple of minutes. Now the question is, what would be the width of this image window? To get the answer of this question, we need to look at our images. If the images are already in good size and presentable, like you can just put them on the web without changing the width. So if the width of the image is good, then you will apply the same width to the image window. This image window is just like a picture frame where you put a picture. So the size of the window and the picture should be the same, especially the width dimension should be exactly the same because we will slide away an image by the same amount as width so that the other image comes forward. I hope you got the idea and things will become more clear as we code further. So both the images I am using in this application have the same width, which is 300 pixels. So I will apply the same width to the image window, which is 300 pixels. So we have simply put a size on the image window. Now, before we go further, I will simply apply a background color on this image window so that we can outline this container in the browser and study the process. So as I reload our page, you will see the width is applied to the image window, and the first image sits perfectly inside the window. And you can see the container, window container, in the background. Here is the yellow background color. The second image is actually outside of the container. Only the one image can sit inside the image window at a time, and it's logical. In the CSS, when the content goes outside of its container, it is called overflow. So the second image and the text, or this entire frame, is an example of an overflow. The interesting thing here is that this overflow is actually needed. It will help us to code this application to get it done. And you will see that very soon. Let's now talk about the height. As you can see, our images have different heights. The width is the same, but the height is different. So just like the width, we need to have same height on our images. So what we're going to do, we will first select all the images and we give them same height. Let's have a height of 380 pixels. When we only apply the height, the browser will automatically choose a width for our images based on the best aspect ratio. That means the width of the images will be disturbed by the browser, and we don't want it. The width that we want is 300 pixels. That means we also need to apply explicitly the width property with the same amount, 300 pixels. Now, as I reload the page, you will see both the images will be in the same size. And here you see them. The first image sits perfectly in the image window, and the second one is the overflow. In the next step, we will put a border and the box shadow on the image window because this is our picture frame, right? So let's have a border first. And now box shadow, right? So on the image window, we simply applied a border and the box shadow. Let's have a reload. And here you see a slight border and the shadow. Now we will apply this paragraph before we start with the sliding function. So let's select the paragraph element like this. The background color, we can take black. Text color is white. Text align center. And in the last, a padding of 5 pixels, right? So our paragraph is also styled. So let's have a reload. And here you see the output. And here you will notice one thing. There is a very small gap between the image and the paragraph. As you can see, this gap is actually because of the image element. Image element is an inline element, and we are trying to fit it into the block element. So to remove this gap, we can change the nature of the image element and can also make it a block element. So here is our image element. And on that, we can simply apply display block to change it from inline to block. So let me simply reload, and now you can see the space of the gap is gone. Everything looks good. It's now perfect time to apply image slide on the mouse hover. So let's start with the hover selector. When the hover is performed on the image window, we will target the frame which is inside like this. And here we will apply CSS transform property with the function translate 3D. This translate 3D function is actually used to reposition an element on X, Y, and Z axis. So let's simply find the documentation of translate 3D. CSS translate 3D function. And here we have the official documentation. The first good thing that we can see here is this function is widely available for all the browser. And what does it do? It actually repositions an element in a 3D space. And it takes three arguments, X, Y, and Z. It's a 3D function, and that's why it has 3 dimensions. But we aren't going to use all the dimensions. We only need to use the X dimension. We will slide our image left and right, so the dimension is X. The value of Y and the Z dimension is 0 because we are not going to touch it. We only need to touch the X dimension by the value of 300 pixels. This 300 pixels is the same as the width of the image. The value is positive plus 300 pixels. That means translate 3D function will further reposition our image to the right side when the mouse is over the image window. Let me simply show you what will happen. Reload the page and mouse hover on the first image, You can see now our image window is empty and the image is repositioned further 300 pixels to the right side. And in order to put our second image on the frame, we need to apply negative value. So instead of positive value, we will apply minus 300 pixels. Now our image will reposition itself further to the left side. So let me reload, and here you see things are getting better and better. Now we will apply the time function. As you can see, this repositioning goes very fast, right? And we want it slow and smooth. The element where the transform property is actually working is the frame element, right? So we are going to select the frame element, and here we will apply the time function using transition. The name of the property we want to control is transform. The time duration for this entire transform can be 500 millisecond, and the transform effect is linear. So now we have controlled this transform or change which is applied on the frame using the transition property. And the duration is 500 milliseconds. So the entire transition period is 500 milliseconds. So let's have a reload, and now you will see a very smooth result. Here you will see, right? The second image comes forward smoothly and sits inside the image window. And now the one final step. The final step has to do with the overflow. With no hover, the second image is overflowed, and with hover, the first image is overflowed. Overflow simply means they are sticking out of the container, image window container. Now we are going to go back to our image window container, and here we'll apply overflow hidden. That's it. Our application is ready. We simply don't want to show the overflow. The overflow is there, but it's hidden. So let's reload our page one last time. And as I reload, you will see our second image will disappear. It comes forward on mouse hover. And as this second image comes forward, the first image will start disappearing. So let me reload the page, and you will see the final version of our application, right? It's wonderful. So, my friends, that was an interesting tutorial on CSS, and I hope you liked it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share the video. I will see you in some other tutorials. Take care.